Morning, all of you. Is it audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. In the previous class, we completed DSM and we started MPI. So in MPI, it is for passing the messages. Okay, whenever we have distributed memory, we will be using message passing interface. That is MPI programming. Here, the communication will be happening based on the IDs. So ID is nothing but the processor rank here. That is the processor ID. We will be giving some number for each processor that we will be considering. And also we discussed there will be 6 basic functions by which we will have the MPI. First is MPI initialization for initializing MPI, then MPI finalize for exiting MPI, and MPI communicator side. Here it is for how many number of processors are required, so that it will be determining. And this function, it will determine the process rank. So for a particular processor, what is the rank, that ID we will be getting. And MPI is sent when it wants to send a message. The message will be sending from the source to the destination. So the parameters we need to pass is the, what is the buffer size? This is count, data type, the destination, and then the tag related to it, and the MPI communicator. Okay, because MPI communicator that we will be getting from the previous functions that we will be sending. And in MPI receive, it is about the buffer, count, data type, and receiving. It has to tell from from where it has been received. So source has to be passed here, and tag, then communicator, then status whether it has been received. So in MPI we have two kinds of communication. So in MPA, we have two types of communication. One is point to point. So this is the simplest form of message passing that can be done. Okay, here one process sends a message to another. So if process ID is 0 is there, so this is one process, and it is sending message to another process. So one process sends message to another. So different types of point to point communication exist. It can be synchronous and asynchronous. So if it is synchronous, how it will be? If it is asynchronous, how it will be? So if it is synchronous, so the sender, okay, he will get the information that the message has been received. So when the sender is sending some message, okay, so sender, he has to know whether it has been received by the receiver or not. So that acknowledgement will be getting in synchronous sense. Okay, so it is similar to the when the fax machine is saying okay sheet or beep. Okay, when it has been the receiver, when it has been received, the sender will be getting a beep message that the receiver had received it. Then asynchronous in the sense only the source or the sender will be knowing when the message has left. He will not have any acknowledgement whether the receiver has received or not. And here we have blocking and non-blocking operations. So here this will be useful when point-to-point communication is being happen. So some sends or receive operations, they will be blocking until another process acts. Mom, mute yourself, all of you. Okay. some send operation or receive operation, they will be blocking another process. That means another operation will not be happening. So such kind of operations we call it as blocking. So if we take synchronous send operation, it will be blocking until receive is issued, because we told that the sender has to get the acknowledgement from the receiver whether the message has been received or not. Okay. So until this has been done first, okay, and now some other operation has to happen, means first it has to receive it, until then it will be blocking other operations. And receive operation also, it will block until the message is being sent. So blocking subroutine returns only when the operation has been completed. The call will be waiting until the data transfer is done here. So the sending process will wait until all the data are transferred to the system buffer, and the receiving process will wait until all data are transferred from the system buffer to the receiver buffer. And buffers, they can be really reused in point-to-point communication. So if we take blocking message send, so this is the function MPI_send. So this is void buffer int count, the data type int destination, tag, and MPI communicator. Okay. So this buffer is specifying the starting address of the buffer. Count, it indicates the number of buffer elements. D type, this denotes the data type of the buffer elements. Destination, it will specify the rank of the destination process in the group associated with the communicator. Tag, it denotes the message label. And communicator here, it designates the communication context that will identify the group of processes. So this is the blocking message send. And here we have different kinds of sends. First one is standard, that was MPI_send. So here the sending process returns when the system can buffer the message or when the message is received. Okay, and here the buffer is ready for reuse for standard send. If it is buffered, okay, MPI_be send. So the sending process returns when the message is buffered in an application supplied buffer. If it is synchronous, so the sending process returns only if a matching receive is posted and the receiving process has to receive the message. Ready, this is MPI_send. The message is sent as soon as possible. And then we have blocking message receive. So here these are the parameters. This we already discussed. We will discuss each parameter. Buffer, it specifies the starting address of buffer. Count indicates the number of buffer elements. D type denotes the data type of buffer elements. Source, it specifies the rank of the source process. Tag denotes message label. This designs the communication context, which will identify group of processes. Status, return information about the received message. So if you take an example here, so the rank, I told that process IDs are nothing but the rank. So that is if rank is 0, okay. So then for I equal to 0, I less than 10, I plus plus, buffer equal to, in buffer we are loading some values here. So now MPI is then what it is doing, whatever the buffer we have, we are adding it, and the count, it is 10, okay, and then we are initializing it, in, then the rank which it has to send, that is the destination, then the tag, and then the communicator. Okay, if rank is 1, okay, if it is not 0, if it is 1, so then for I equal to 0, I less than 10, I plus plus. So buffer of I, we are making it as -1, and MPI receive, we are receiving the buffer. This is the count. Then MPI initialization, the source, the processor ID, the destination source has to be given here. So the source is 0, then tag, then MPI communicator role and the status. Okay. For I equal to 0, I less than 10, I plus plus. If buffer, if it is not equal to I, okay, then we are taking that buffer of I equal to I, but it has to be expected to be percentile. Actually, it has to be one value, but it is some other value. So that's what about blocking operations here in synchronous operation. Then we have non-blocking operations also. So non-blocking operations, they will return immediately and allow the subprogram to perform other work. So in non-blocking message passing, it will return immediately after the data transfer is initiated, and it allows to overlap the computation with the communication. We have to be careful here when we are using this. When send and receive buffers are updated before the transfer is over, so the result will be wrong. So we have to be cautious about this. And these are the non-blocking message passing functions: MPI, I send, MPI, I receive. Okay, and this is a buffer, count, data type, destination, tag, then communicator, then request. So this is the additional thing in non-blocking operations. Request is nothing but it specifies the request used by the completion routine when called by the application to complete the send operation. So whatever the request given by the routine, so that is nothing but the request here. Then MPI I receive. So here we have buffer, count, data type, source, tag, communicator, and request. And then MPI wait we have, where we have to provide the request and the status. Okay. So these are the blocking and non-blocking. So if it is MP standard, if it is MPI underscore send, then non-blocking MPI underscore I send. If it is buffered, then it is MPI underscore B send, MPI underscore I B send. If it is synchronous, MPI underscore S send, MPI underscore I S send. If it is what? Is R send. If it is ready, okay. If it is ready, then it is MPI underscore R send. Then non-blocking it becomes MPI underscore I R send. And if it is receive, then it is MPI underscore receive. But in non-blocking it becomes MPI underscore I receive. So the functions names will be changed, but the parameters we have to pass also will be different compared to the blocking operation. That we have to take care. So here we are taking the number of processes here. If it is right, then rank will be added. If it is left, then rank will be decreased by 1. If left is less than 0, then left is here decreasing one value from the end process, number of processes here. So now we are performing the non-blocking operation. MPI I receive, buffer 10, then MPI initialization, then left is nothing but the number of processes, whatever the ID that we have here, then tag, then MPI communicator role and the request. Okay. And for sending, we are using another buffer 10, MPI initialization, right label, MPI communicator role and request. And for MPI wait, initially whatever the request by the receive function and the status related to it, and another MPI function, wait function for the request to and what is the status of that. So in order to execute MPI code, we can either use MPI run or MPI execution. Anyway, you will be getting this to know in lab better. That's what about point-to-point communication using in MPI. We have synchronous and asynchronous, blocking and non-blocking. Then coming to the collective communication. So here a single call handles the communication between all the processes in the communicator. So we have 3 types of collective communication: data movement, reduction, and synchronization. So data movement, this broadcast is one of the example for data movement. So it is one-to-many communication. So if you see the function for it, int MPI underscore bcast, buffer, count, data type, root. So root here is nothing but which is the process that has to send the data to all the other processes, because we already told it is one-to-many communication. That one is nothing but the root and MPA communicator. So one process sends data to all the other processes in the same communicator. So it has to be called by all the processes with the same argument. So if I have some 4 processes and in processor 1 I have some data ABCD here. If I'm performing MPA broadcast operation on all these processes, and the root here it will be P1 when we are passing here, and count will be 4. So that and all we have to provide it properly. Then after broadcast operation, the processes will have the data as ABCD in all the processes. So that is one-to-many communication, that is broadcasted. Then the next operation in data movement is gather. So in gather, the parameters that we have to pass is what is the send buffer size, address, starting address, send count, send type, what is the data type of the sender, then receive buffer, receive count, receive type, then root, then MPA communicator. So MPA gather is like that. If I have some 4 processors, in each processor I have some data, and when I perform MPA gather, so all the data will be gathered to the root, to P1. You have seen. Then the next data movement operation is gather to all. Here the parameters that we have to pass is send buffer, send count, send type, receive buffer, receive count, receive type, and MPA communicator role. So here the function name is MPA underscore all gather. Okay. So previously when a gather function was there, when we have some 4 processes, in 4 processes we have some data. When I perform MPA gather, all the data was accumulated and it was sent to P1. We have gathered there. But when it is MPA all gather, the data will be accumulated and the same thing will be passed for all the processes. That is about data operation. Then reduction operations. So in OpenMP, whatever the advantage of reduction, here also the same. It will combine data from several processes for producing the single result. Okay, so each processes we have some partial sums. We don't know what is the actual sum. When at that time we can perform the reduction operation. So the function for reduction is MPA reduce, okay, send buffer, receiver buffer, count, MPI data type, and what is the operation, then a root, then MPI communicator. So here one process collects data to all the other processes in the same communicator and performs the operation on the data. So if I have some 4 processes, A, B, C, D, P1, P2, P3, P4, and in each process we have some data. When I perform MPI reduce, so it will be whatever the operation that I have given, that operation will be performed on the data here, and it will be collected to P1, to the root. Okay, whatever the root that we are giving. Here it is A plus B plus C plus D. Okay, we can have MPI sum, MPI minimum, MPI max, MPI product, logical and or XOR, and other operations. And moreover, we can have the user defined operator also that we can have using MPI underscore OP underscore create. So that operation we can perform on here. Here you can see instead of plus, whatever the user defined operation is, that also we can perform. Then MPI all reduce. So MPI all reduce, here we have to send buffer, give send buffer, receive buffer, count, data type, operation, and MPI communicator. So instead of taking only to the root, because it has to be MPI all reduce. No? So then it will be collected to all the processors. So whatever the operation it is happened on the data, it will be collected at root and it will be passed for the all the process. Then for synchronization, we will be using barriers. So the function is int MPI barrier. MPI barrier we can use. Then we need to pass the communicator here. Here some small example is given. MPI initialization, communicator size we have read, then rank we are getting here. Then we are using MPI barrier. Then we are trying to print hello world. Then we are trying to exit the MPI library. Okay, so here it will be waiting until all the process has completed, and then only it will print the data. Then MPI we will be performing marshalling. So marshalling is the process of taking or collecting the data items and assembling them in order to transmit. And unmarshalling is the reverse process of the marshalling. Okay. So at the sender side, whatever the data items we will be collecting, and we will be performing marshalling operation. Okay, and that will be passed to the receiver, and then for that particular data he will perform unmarshalling, and it will be assembled in the proper format. And these are the references for MPI. Then we are going to see the case study related to RPC and Java RMI. So for Java RMI, we have the case study. So in RPC, this is remote procedure call. So we will have the client side and server side. So the communication will be happening in this scenario only. So at client side, we have the client process and stub. Okay, we have the stub at the client side. So whenever the client process wants to communicate or send or implement something, it will be contacting client server, and client server, it will be taking help of the name server. And after that, it will be sending the information to the server stub, and then server stub will be implementing the server procedure, and then it will send the result to stub, and stub to via client stub, and client stub via client process. So this is how the RPC will be implemented. And then coming to the RMI. So in RMI, it is remote method invocation. So it provides a mechanism for creating the distributed application in Java. And RMI allows the object to invoke methods and an object running in another JVM. And RMI, it will provide remote communication between the applications using stub and skeleton. So what is the remote object here? It is the object which can be invoked from another JVM. And what is stub? Stub is an object which acts as gateway at client side, and all the outgoing requests are routed through it. It resides at the client side and represents the remote object. And whenever it initiates the connection with the remote virtual machine, it will write and transmit. Transmission, it will happen via marshalling. It will transmit the parameters for the remote virtual machine, and it will wait for the result, and then it will unmarshal the return value or exception, and it will find it returns the value to the caller. So this is at the stub, that is at the client side. So then at the server side, we have skeleton. So skeleton is the object which acts as gateway for the server side object. All the incoming requests are routed through it. So whenever request is happening, what is going to happen? It will read the parameter for the remote method, and it will invoke the method on the actual remote object. It writes and transmits the result to the caller. So if we have some two machines, this is the caller and this is the remote object. At client side, we have the stub, and at the server side, we have the skeleton, and they are communicating here. And what are the applications for distributed applications? If any application wants to perform the task in it can be distributed application. So what are those tasks? Okay, if they are performing the following task, it can be distributed. So the application has to locate the remote method. It need to provide the communication with the remote objects. The application need to load the class definitions for the objects. Okay, if because the RMI application is having all these features, we are calling it as distributed application. And we can see the example for Java RMI. So the 6 steps are there. First one is create remote interface, then provide the implementation of remote interface, compile the implementation class and create stub and skeleton objects using RMIC tool, and then start registry service by RMI registry tool, then create and start remote application, then create and start client application. So these are the 6 steps. So the client application here, it needs only 2 files, remote interface and client application. And in RMA application, both the server and client interacts with the remote interface. The client application, it will invoke the proxy object, and RMA sends request to the remote JVM, and then return value is sent back to the proxy object and then to the client application. Okay, so this is the proxy object at the client side, and the implementation will be happening at the center side. So in order to create the remote interface, we have to import that RMI, so java.rmi.star, the public interface adder extending remote invocation. So public, the function we are taking int, the function name is add, these two parameters, it will throws the remote exception. So the exception we are making through remote interface. Then we have to implement the remote interface. For that, import java RMI, java.rmi.server.star. In public class, adder remote extends unique as to remote object. Okay, that implements add. So these names you can modify, but these are the keywords. Then adder remote throws remote exception here. Then some function, and this is the function that we want to implement. Public int add, int x, int y. We need to return the sum of these two values x and y. And then we have to create the stub and skeleton objects using RMIC tool. For that, we have to invoke the RMI compiler. So in order to invoke it, we have to run RMIC adder remote. So because this is the function name we have considered here. And then we have to start the registry service tool by RMI registry. So for that, we can have the command RMI registry, and this is the port number which we have to run. Okay, port number has to be, it can be varied. Then create and run the server application. So for that, first import java.rmi, then java.rmi.registry.store, then public class, because it is at server, the name has given as my server, then public stat void main, some arguments, all other things. Then stub we are calling here. From stub we are taking the call of adder remote. Then we are performing the binding here, okay, by using the local host and the port number. And then we are catching the exception. Then we are trying to print. Then create and run the client application. Okay, so java.rmi client. So this is the code that you have to write at the client side. So public static void main string arguments, then adder stub we are calling the adder, and this is the naming lookup. Then we are trying to print it, and the parameters that we are passing is 34,4, and then we are catching the exception here. So for running this particular example, we have to first compile all the Java files, java c start.java, then create stub and skeleton object by RMIC tool, RMIC adder remote, then start RMI registry by passing the port number RMI registry 5000, start the server in another command prompt java my server, then start the client application in another command prompt java my client. So you have seen what is the code for my server, my client, this we have seen. So this is way how you have to compile it. So when you compile, okay, so this is how you can compare. So this is Java C start.java, RMIC adder remote, and RMI register port numbers. Then we have to open another command prompt, and we have to create the stub and skeleton. So for skeleton and stub, Java my server, okay, and Java my client. These are in separate command prompt. Okay, so once you run Java my client, you can see the output, it will be coming as 38 because the inputs that we have passed is 34 comma. So it has been taken from Java point for RMI. So this is what about MPI and a case study for RMI. So if you have any doubts, you please tell me. Our module 4 is finished. In the next class, we will be starting our module 5. Ma, all of you answer your attendance, ma. All of you. Neelkant,
Yes, ma'am.
Jignesh, Ayush, Ishwar Reddy,
Present, ma'am.
Abdullah Farhan,
Present, ma'am.
Bhavraj,
Present, ma'am.
Yesh, Nivas,
Present, ma'am.
Parth,
Present, ma'am.
Nidhish,
Present, ma'am.
Anirudh,
Present, ma'am.
Saira,
Present, ma'am.
Srinath,
Yes, ma'am.
Saurav,
Present, ma'am.
Somesh,
Present, ma'am.
Sai Nitin,
Present, ma'am.
Satyasri Narayanan,
Present, ma'am.
Sai Raghavendra,
Present, ma'am.
Harika Sai,
Present, ma'am.
Vaibhav Prakash,
Present, ma'am.
Sanjit,
Present, ma'am.
Ninal,
Present, ma'am.
Abhishek,
Present, ma'am.
Jitendra,
Present, ma'am.
Uday Surya,
Present, ma'am.
Subiksha,
Present, ma'am.
Dakshina,
Present, ma'am.
Patel Jaisal,
Present, ma'am.
Manav,
Present, ma'am.
Saravanan,
Present, ma'am.
Srivardhan,
Present, ma'am.
Rahul,
Present, ma'am.
Surya Sri Venkat, Sahil,
Present, ma'am.
Sangramjit,
Ma'am, Surya Sri Venkat present, ma'am.
Sangramjit,
Present, ma'am.
Vaibhav,
Present, ma'am.
Sai Pritam,
Present, ma'am.
Ankan Roy,
Yes, ma'am.
Karthik,
Present, ma'am.
Meghna,
Present, ma'am.
Ishan Chawla,
Present, ma'am.
Balaji,
Present, ma'am.
Mohit, Shyam,
Present, ma'am.
Anagha Sriram,
Present, ma'am.
Praneeth,
Present, ma'am.
Avinash,
Present, ma'am.
Akash,
Present, ma'am.
Remita Astin,
Present, ma'am.
Meghna,
Present, ma'am.
Harish,
Present, ma'am.
Anupama,
Present, ma'am.
Balaji, Maharshi Roy,
Present, ma'am.
Harish, Jayant,
Present, ma'am.
Deepak,
Present, ma'am.
Sai Varun,
Present, ma'am.
Monisha,
Present, ma'am.
Ashwani Prasad.
Present, ma'am.
See the
Ma'am,
absent
Yash
list.
Patel present, ma'am. Ma'am, Yash Patel present.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am,
Jignesh
1880 1085 present, ma'am.
10.
85, ma'am. Second name. Jignesh.
Ayush,
Ma'am, Mohit Kaushik is present.
okay.
Ma'am, Harish Kumar present.
Ma'am, Balaji are present, ma'am.
So Ayush is absent, right? It's not that right. I'm submitting the attendance.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Tell me, ma'am.
Ma'am, can you please upload the second part of module 4 PPT?
I'll
I
upload it.
think, yeah. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Tell me, ma'am.
Could you please tell us the class average of CAT 1, ma'am?
I will do it, ma'am. I will do it and I will tell.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Ma'am,
Tell me.
ma'am, I was present on 24th September, ma'am. I also texted you in Teams chat.
Name, ma?
Ma'am, 19 BC 1746, Maharshi Roy.
I have uploaded, ma. PPT.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, did you change it?
I've changed it.
Ma'am.
Website.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Ma, if you have any doubts, you can stay, ma. Otherwise, you can leave the session. All of you, please take care. Stay safe.